we have to shift our narrative away from the meta narrative that says this is all about salvation.
Hey, here's a good question that came up that I do want to put up here for you to give you a chance to answer. What's your opinion of the salvation of people outside the garden? I understand there's no answers in the Bible, but I'm sure you have an educated opinion.
At this point, I'm afraid that I typically fall back on what is a very unsatisfying answer. If the Bible doesn't tell us, we don't know. We can't make all of that up. Once people are in the image of God, and we don't know when that happened, once people are in the image of God, then they are working alongside of him. But the Old Testament story is not the story of salvation. I know people disagree with me on that one. But it's not the story
of the people outside the garden, right?
It's the story of God's presence with his people. And so salvation doesn't even come into the issue for Israelites. They're not thinking about, when can I be saved from my sins? I can't wait till Jesus comes. They're working with the sacrificial system in the temple that God gave them, and God said those are sufficient for them to do. But that's not about salvation. That's about being in relationship with God, with him dwelling among them. So we have to shift our narrative away from the meta narrative that says this is all about salvation. I don't see that in the Old Testament.
So, but to take the question on its own terms, though, and as a speculative thing, it could go either way, maybe, right? Or
how are people in the Old Testament saved if Jesus hasn't come yet? Again, the Bible doesn't deal with those issues, and that's God's purview, his prerogatives, and we're content with that. At least I am.
Scandal of particularity, right? That God somehow works through particular people in particular ways. Yeah. So, I mean, I think that's a good answer. It's close to mine. I think we don't know from Scripture, but I do think that there's some value in wondering about it.
We can wonder all we want, but if we expect answers, we really can't speculate our way to, or wonder our way to confident answers.
Well, if you understand it as you're saying right here, as that you're doing the exegetical work of what Scripture is saying, I think the right answer is that Scripture doesn't tell us. But that's not the end of the conversation. We can start then asking what theology might tell us. We can wonder what all those things, right? And that's part of the conversation too, right? Or no?
I'm sure that's part of a theological conversation. Yes.
But you're not. But you do theology too. What am I missing here? Are you trying to stay in your lane?
No. Yeah. I mean, I don't want to presume to speak intelligently theologically. I do theology like everybody does, trying to figure things out. We do have passages in Romans. We have that famous passage about all have sinned and fall short of the glory of God. But then it goes on 2 verses later to talk about how God put off his treatment of sin, his punishment of sin, awaiting for the day of Jesus. And you get a good idea that somehow that's all involved with everybody before Jesus. And that doesn't necessarily mean starting with Adam. It means starting with everybody. But again, it really doesn't give us a whole system to explain all that.